You've got tight hips and I've got a solution. Whether it's from sitting all day or simply a lack of physical activity, your hip flexors or the muscles on the front of your hips are likely very tight and needing some stretching. That is why I'm so glad you're here for this video, because I'm going to show you a few great ways to stretch your hip flexors to hopefully reduce some pain in your life, increase that overall mobility, relieve that tightness, and get you back up to par. But what are we waiting for? Let's go ahead, jump right in the video, see what we can do. So for starters, what are the hip flexors? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The hip flexors are essentially a group of muscles that run right up here, kind of on your inner thigh, but mainly on the front of your thigh. Anytime you raise your knee to the sky, you're using your hip flexor muscles to do this. You are essentially flexing your hip. This is hip flexion, holding this position right here. To relieve that pain, relieve some of that tightness, we need to do the opposite movement, which is this movement. So bringing our hips into an extended position. This is hip flexion. Our hip flexors are tight, so we need to work on them in an extended position to hopefully relieve some of that pain, some of that tightness, and get you back up to par. The next part of this video is going to show you a few great hip flexor stretches, ranging from easy all the way to a more advanced version, to get you some great hip flexor relief regardless of your current ability. The first thing we can do to stretch out those hip flexors are some light kicks. I'm holding on to something for this one, but essentially this one is just going to be a very passive range of motion exercise. So when you bring your leg back, it's actually getting a light, gentle tug on that hip flexor, which will hopefully reduce some of that pain, stiffness, and tightness. Make sure you're doing this on both sides of your leg, since this is a single leg unilateral exercise. If you want to get a little more bang for your buck, you can also bend your knee when you bring it back. That'll get a little more stretch on the hip flexor, but doing some kicks is a good place to start, and anyone of any ability can do those. The next step up from that is actually going to be a quad stretch. For a quad stretch, you are going to grab below your leg like this, and then you're going to pull your leg up just a little bit in position. Make sure you're standing nice and tall when we're doing this. And when you do this, you will likely feel a nice gentle stretch on the top of your thigh here. That's your hip flexor muscle, right? The muscle that's very tight from all that sitting we do all day. Just like the last one, make sure you are doing this on both sides to get equal balance work in your muscles. That's the second one. If you're liking the video so far, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos on improving your overall hip mobility, getting you back up to par regardless of your current fitness level. But we still have a few more hip flexor exercises, so if you only do those first two, don't watch the end of the video. You're probably still gonna have tight, weak hips for yourself, so stay tuned till the end. Let's see a few more. These first few are pretty easy, good for beginners, but if you want a little more stretch on your hip flexor, we got to do a little bit more intense stuff. These last three are going to be a little bit more intense, but still going to give you some great relief. This next one, I have a yoga mat on the ground. We're actually going to do kind of a yoga pose, but sort of, kind of, not really. We'll just get right into it. So for this one, you're going to have your legs in a 90-90 position, front knee 90 degrees, back knee 90 degrees, and then you're going to push that front knee forward, and keeping your body nice and straight in position, you're going to feel a gentle pull on your hip flexor muscles. As I mentioned, make sure you're doing this on both sides. I also forgot to mention too, I'm going to put every equipment link down in the description so you can purchase these for yourselves. But that's number three. Let's see the last two. Okay, so these last two are going to be very demanding, so only do it if you have great hip mobility and have done those first few exercises getting you up to this point. The fourth exercise is going to be a couch stretch. This is a really good one. It's going to get pretty gnarly pretty quickly. What you are going to do is actually bring your foot either up onto a bench or a wall, and then you're going to, again, just like the last one, keep your body sitting up nice and straight, and then you're going to squeeze the butt cheek of the leg that's up on the bench. When you do this, you're going to get a really gnarly stretch through the front of that hip flexor. To make it even more intense, you can actually bring your arm over. This is really painful for me. Bring your arm over, hold that position again for about 30 seconds. Make sure you're doing this on both sides to get equal work in your muscles. That's number four. We still have the last one, and probably my favorite one, because we're going to combine a little bit of strength. Okay, so we finished those first four. Our last, and probably one of my most favorite ways to stretch your hip flexors, is actually going to be an HEG split squat. This is going to not only stretch your hip flexors, but actually give your knee a little bit of load, which will help to decrease some of that pain. And usually if you have hip pain and mobility issues in your hips, of course, you're going to have something in your knees too. So this combines both of them, also works your strength a little bit. For this one, I always start with a foot on a bench that's very high, much higher than you think you might need. Then what you're going to do, again, keeping your body nice and straight in position, you're going to push that front knee forward until you feel a nice gentle pull on the back of your hip flexor. You can either hold this position or you can actually kind of pulse it in. So you can do this for repetitions. When you do this, you probably notice, hey, the front of my knee is getting a little bit of load, right? Well, that's exactly why we're doing this. We're trying to get a little bit of load through that knee, but also we're getting a little bit of load and stretch through that back hip flexor. Again, make sure you're doing this on both sides. When you first start, I would start with a very high bench, but of course we can actually make it a little bit tougher over time, which will give you a better stretch and give you a better load through your entire body. The best way we can do this, of course, is by slowly lowering the position. So I've got a slightly lower box now, going down, holding, and coming out. And then hopefully over time, you're getting all the way down here. Look how good of a stretch that hip flexor is, as well as bulletproofing the knees. Great all around exercise. One of my favorites. If your hips are thankful for watching this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos on improving your body, hip mobility, everything involved in that. Be sure to check out low impact exercise programs down in the description. Otherwise, you can check out the next video from my channel that YouTube's gonna recommend for you right now. To tell me you're no good, I'm brushing away